done. Look at that. So, yeah. So this week, if you have a Tuesday, Thursday lab, you have your practical. If not, then you take it next Monday, right? Monday, Wednesday, people do this Monday for Memorial Day things. And we'll take your next lecture test that following Monday. Not like in 2 weeks, Monday. Okay, so a few more things on bones. We're going to be talking about bones and growing bones and different shapes of bones and all the other crazy stuff as well. And we can find a few things that affect bone growth. You might know right off the top of your head that things like vitamins and minerals probably play a pretty big role in having proper bone growth for you. We also have other things like hormones that could affect the rate of bone growth as well. And one of the big ones is growth hormone. And just what it says, growth hormone makes you grow. So if you have less growth hormone, you're going to be shorter. If you have too much, you're going to be taller. Remember we said we had like Ping Ping? Is that little guy? Right? So, out there. So just know that growth hormone would affect the rate at which bone grows through there. So what happens like at some point if you have too much growth hormone and your bones have already stopped growing? Does that happen to you ever, maybe? Like you get like a tumor or something in the pituitary gland or something?
I've never had a tumor.
After you stop growing? Yeah, there's a name for that stuff. And it's called acromegaly. There. And really what it is an increase in your growth hormone after your plates have sealed. So that means you stop growing as an adult, but then you have some sort of an issue where you have an overreduction of growth hormone and your bones start to change shape. Typically what you see is foreheads getting really tall and jaws really big. So it's not like any late night host for a talk show, maybe first name Jay. Yeah, Jay Leno, right? He has acromegaly. So next time you see him, check out his forehead and his jaw.
That guy who was the tallest guy in the world for a long time, he had like super big facial features too.
Yeah, yes. It depends on when your growth plate stops. So like if you get it before, then you become a giant. But if you get it afterward, you get something called acromegaly. You're there. So that you get like big hands, big forehead, things like that. So this is like one of the side effects of too much growth hormone. But then naturally you have some things with your thyroid gland too, because that regulates metabolism. So you have other issues with thyroid hormones and also insulin too. So those both play a pretty big role in proper bone growth. So it's like know those three things: growth hormone, thyroid hormones, and insulin. All those. And then A and B too, you're going to talk a lot about the endocrine system with like insulin and growth hormone and all the other crazy hormones you can learn too, how it affects the body and things like that. So you'll see all that stuff coming up. Did you guys register for that yet? Can you do that? Maybe? You might register for the fall, right? You did that? Yeah. Okay, a couple other hormones that affect the rate of bone growth, and they are your sex hormones. So we're talking about things like estrogen and testosterone here. They talk about androgens. So androgens are those male hormones. So you can like dump in there testosterone if you want to instead of the word androgen. That works out pretty well as well. So who again stops at an earlier age, women or men? Women. Okay, so we said yeah, they get puberty, they get a big rush of estrogen, which gives you your secondary sexual characteristics. So like breasts and all the other goodies that get to that. But also it has an effect on bone growth. So with estrogen over here, we said, yeah, usually by age, I know you get puberty now at like 11, probably, right? 11 years old. And then you stop growing by age, I don't know, 16, maybe 17 for women, in that range. Okay. And then for men, we're going to have our testosterone over here, something like that. And again, probably have puberty around the same age, 11, 12-ish, maybe through that area. And we stop at age, yeah, 19, 20, probably through there. 18, maybe whatever you want to put over there. So estrogen works quicker to seal the plate. What I mean by that is it has an earlier closure of the epiphyseal plate. And an earlier closure means bone growth stops quicker, right? Sooner, earlier sort of thing. So estrogen affects that growth plate and causes it to close earlier. So no more cartilage, you seal it off, and you get the epiphyseal line thing going for us. So just know that. Estrogen works quicker to seal the plate. Estrogen works quicker to seal the plate. Testosterone, a little slower acting on that growth plate. So it takes a little bit longer for that to have effect. all that slide really says. So we're going to worry about the rest, right? It says estrogen stimulates the ossification of the epiphyseal plate. Yeah, it works quicker. Works quicker. That's all we're going to say about that. So we'll catch up a little bit. Okay, good. Hey, bone remodeling. Are your bones reshaping and resizing even as we speak?
Yes.
They are, right? So it's a constant thing, depending on your activity level, right? So if you're out there playing a lot of contact sports, doing a lot of like high impact sort of sports, or even weightlifting, things like that, your bones will change density, right, to accommodate for those extra stresses, and therefore they're going to reshape and remodel to, again, accommodate for those new activities that you're doing. How if you sit around and do nothing? Your bones will deteriorate, right? They start to shrivel up and go away. You get osteomalacia, osteopenia, all that crazy stuff. So your bones are continuously broken down, reshaped, remodeled through there. And it says really that you have to work in balance. So remember, like the osteoclast would break bone down, and the osteoclast would build it up. So you have to make sure those two things balance. So if you get one working more than the other one, you can have some issues. Sorry, there. So anyway, so those new stresses, right, allow for the bones to grow, right, heal, all the other things that you do to that one too. So just have that in the back of your head, that your bones are constantly reshaping and remodeling due to the amount of stress, right, or activity levels that you're performing. So, got that going for us. Reshape your model. Okay, we'll do some fractures, and then we're pretty much like done for this chapter. Okay, so fracture is any broken bone. Does it have to like break completely in half to still be a fracture, or do like a splinter fracture or whatever? Yeah, it doesn't like really matter, right? Any change, right, in the integrity of that bone can be a fracture for us. So it says any break. We have named fractures as well. So we'll go through, we'll name different types of fractures and help you identify those and go from there. Probably the simplest one to do would be an open versus a closed fracture. And maybe you've heard of like compound fracture versus a simple fracture. And the key is, does the bone stick out through your skin after you break it? So if you break a bone and it sticks to your skin, it's an open fracture or a compound fracture. So it actually has to stick through your skin. Have you had one of those ever? Compound fracture, stick to your skin? Nobody. It's not really me. At least one person usually does. All right, so that's an open or compound fracture. What if you break it and it doesn't stick through your skin?
Closed.
Yeah, it's called a closed or a simple fracture. So that's the really, really basic thing of those, open versus closed. Alrighty, now we're going to name some fractures by their location on the body, whether it's an ankle or wrist or whatever. Children versus adults, we have some different things to show you here. My first one is called a comminuted fracture. So a comminuted fracture is a fracture that would splinter. So you break the bone not just in half, but you have little fragments of bone that splinter off from that. So broken bone splinters and produces fragments. It's a comminuted fracture. Tough to fix?
Yes.
Harder than a simple fracture, right? Just snap it in half, like that's a lot easier to reduce and
Where
heal up.
usually, what part of body?
It doesn't matter for that. It can just be anything that allows that bone to splinter and shatter.
It does not discriminate.
Does not discriminate. It can happen anywhere. Alright, so that's a comminuted fracture, so it splinters or fragments. Green stick fracture. Now think about a stick from a tree. Okay, so a tree that's still alive, you like take a branch and bend the branch and just snap right in half. Not in a real live tree, right? So like an old dead tree, you can like snap the branch in half, but on a tree that's still alive, you try to snap it, so one side it'll stay intact, but the other side might splinter a little bit maybe, you there? That would be called a green stick fracture. This happens in bones that are not completely ossified. So does it happen in adults or children? Children, right? So green stick does what? We can bend one side, the other side will splinter a little bit, and the bone's not completely ossified. This happens in children. So green stick fractures for children. That one. So again, incomplete ossification. That one. Guys, feel like any good weekend stories? Best weekend?
You can find if any of us wore bracelets.
Yeah. Actually, I saw somebody wear some bracelets at the beach. So we're out there like walking around, we see these. First I saw like a helicopter on siesta. I'm like, hey, something's going on, whatever. It could look like a fade flight away, whatever.
That guy died.
What's that?
Yes, my 6-year-old dude died of a heart attack.
Friday night
Oh, really?
at the beach.
I went
He was in
anything before. It wasn't, yeah, it looked like a, but anyway, so this is helicopter.